There are very few games in recent years that have truly managed to keep me glued to the screen for hours on end. Even fewer have achieved that not through bombastic gameplay or endless content, but through one simple rare quality: masterful writing. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, or just Clair Obscur because let's face it, the game is near perfect, but the name, not so much, did exactly that. And the fact that this piece of art was crafted by just 30 people in a debut indie studio, that's nothing short of a miracle. Please note that there will be heavy spoilers for the end of the game, so be warned. What truly captivated me wasn't just the writing itself, but the courage to begin the game with nearly a full hour of exposition. No flashy combat, no overwhelming tutorials, just narrative, world building, and emotion. That takes guts, especially for a new IP from a studio with no existing fan base, no AAA marketing machine behind it. One chance to capture the audience's attention, and they chose slow, thoughtful storytelling. And that's exactly when they won me over. The most impressive part? The opening didn't feel like a risk, it felt like a statement, a declaration that this story matters. And while I usually avoid pretentious aesthetic experiences that care more about how they look than what they say, Clair Obscur had none of that posturing. It was grounded, human, real, and deeply painful. The game could have easily spiraled into tired Matrix-style tropes. What is real? Is this a simulation? But it never took the lazy path. Instead, it slowly, methodically unraveled a far more original tragedy. A fantasy world born out of grief, shaped by the emotional wreckage of two grieving parents. Verso's parents, who lost their son and tried in their own way to immortalize his memory on the last remaining canvas of existence, but we don't know that at first. From his perspective, it's a supernatural force, a kind of terrible god whose goal is the extinction of the human race. But right from the start, we can get a hint that it's not black or white when Sophie hints that perhaps the painteress herself is a prisoner of this world. And in my opinion, it takes courage to turn a story on a global scale into a story about a family that has fallen apart and is trying to mend the broken pieces. At first, we think it's a story about a cruel god, and in the end, we discover that it's just the ugliest divorce in history. I swear, half the game, I had no idea what was truly going on. Every time I thought I'd grasped the reality of this world, the game would drop a single line of dialogue that shattered that understanding. But when the full picture finally came together, it really came together. Every word, every scene, every whispered line meant something. Nothing was wasted. Honestly, that's the true test of good storytelling. It doesn't demand constant attention, it earns it. Through structure, through resonance, through consequence. I once watched Trey Parker and Matt Stone, creators of South Park, explain how lazy writing is built on and then storytelling. It's passive, it meanders, but good stories, the ones that linger, use therefore and but.
And if the words and then belong between those beats, you're f***ed, basically. You got something pretty boring. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word therefore or but.
Each scene exists because of the one before it.
For those who come after.
Every twist is earned, and Clair Obscur doesn't just follow that philosophy, it embodies it. Take Gustav and Sophie. Their doomed love story introduces us to a world where life is measured, where time is currency, and where even emotion must be spent wisely. The game lets you feel their loss, not in cinematic cutscenes, but in silence, in atmosphere, in the unbearable weight of knowing they never had a chance.
I'm here.
And just when you feel grounded in their story, the rug is pulled. Their entire existence becomes a footnote in a much grander conflict. And yet, it doesn't feel cheap. And it doesn't feel like a betrayal. That's because the twist, that this world is a byproduct of a metaphysical custody battle, is built patiently through the dialogues of characters like Renoir, who at first feels like a tired old man rambling about meaning and legacy, only for us to discover that he's far more than a side character. He's a father, a broken man, and a co-creator of this world.
You won't yet understand. But this is a kindness, not a cruelty.
Renoir's initial brutality, killing background characters without remorse, feels cruel until we understand his motives. He's not a villain. He's a grieving parent trapped in an endless cycle of artistic revenge. That shift in perception is the heart of the game. No one is what they first appear to be. Verso enters the story like a textbook deus ex machina. Just as we lose Gustav, the emotional anchor of the first act, Verso falls from the sky, fully formed. At first it's frustrating, but then the slow reveal begins. The more we learn about him, the more complex he becomes. At first he's just a chosen one. Then we see him as a son, a brother, a fractured soul. And finally we learn the truth. He's not even real. He's a memory, a ghost.
You lost me years ago.
A whisper of the boy who died in the fire. And the game doesn't dramatize this revelation. There's no swelling orchestra, no grand monologue. Verso simply says, "I'm dead." And that's it. Only in the epilogue is the full picture revealed, that our Verso is the lingering soul of the real boy, created not to live, but to help his mother let go of him. That's why he never calls his parents mom or dad and never refers to Maella's sister. He uses their names because deep down, he knows he's not really their son. That subtle detail, pure storytelling genius.
Family is not my favorite topic.
And Mael, what a character. What begins as another feisty 16-year-old with ancient power slowly becomes one of the most tragic arcs in the game. She doesn't belong to either family. She's caught between identities, between love and grief, between two worlds she never chose. And we watch her struggle, not with power, but with loneliness, with the desperate need to be seen. Throughout the journey, we're constantly trying to piece together what's real. But the game never withholds the truth. It scatters it like breadcrumbs. Through offhand comments, through musical cues, through environmental storytelling. It treats the player with respect. It trusts us to understand. And that's not all! One of the most underused tools in modern games is the soundtrack. But Clair Obscur makes his music a central character. The score doesn't just support the story, it tells it. After Gustav's death, return to the place where he died. Pick up the melody that bears his name. I promise you it's worth it. Talk to your companions. Their side stories matter. Through them, we learn even more layers of the main narrative. Verso says he never connected with his parents' art. Later, we learn his mother is the painter and his father, Renoir, also tried to paint, but never quite as well. The war between them is over the memory of their son, who didn't even love painting. He loved music. In a quiet moment, Verso plays the piano for Mael. She sits beside him, listening, and he says this is the music his sister used to love. That scene, simple, unpretentious, is the game's soul. It tells us everything we need to know without saying a word. And from this deeply personal story, the game spirals outward into something much larger. We meet characters like Luna, whose relationship with her parents is so cold and clinical, it borders on emotional estrangement. Or Ciel, who lost her husband in a tragic accident just when they'd made peace with the time they had left. Each side character is a microcosm of grief, loss, and human fragility. Each one adds another brushstroke to this grand canvas. What makes this game so extraordinary is how it balances scale and intimacy. It tells a cosmic story about death, memory, creation, and art, but never loses sight of the human heart at the center of it all. It's a story about a broken family trying to make sense of their pain, and somehow in doing that, it speaks to all of us. Clair Obscur. Expedition 33 isn't just a game, it's a masterclass in narrative design. It's proof that video games can tell stories as profound, as emotional, and as philosophically rich as any film, novel, or stage play. In fact, I've heard whispers that a movie adaptation might be in the works. And if that's true, you'll find me in the front row on opening night, quietly weeping into my overpriced popcorn.